On the bustling platform of Grand Central Station, two officers stopped a black woman, claiming she looked suspicious. Their so-called routine check crossed every line, and they had no idea who they were dealing with. When her bag revealed a CIA badge and a loaded Glock, their sense of authority shattered as quickly as their assumptions. What happened next will shock even the most hardened. But let's start from the beginning. The evening rush at Grand Central Station roared like a living entity. Waves of commuters surged through the expansive concourse, their hurried footsteps echoing off the iconic arched ceiling. Travelers dragged wheeled suitcases behind them or balanced oversized coffee cups as they wove through the labyrinth of platforms and tracks. Announcements crackled over the loudspeakers, muffled yet authoritative, directing passengers to their trains. The golden glow of the chandeliers overhead bathed the scene in a timeless warmth, though the air was thick with the scent of steel, asphalt, and faint traces of exhaust from the trains. Amid the throng of rushing bodies, Tara Jones stood out, not because she sought attention, but because her composed stride and quiet confidence set her apart. At 35, her every movement exuded an air of self-assured elegance. Her black skirt fell just above the knee, its sharp tailoring complementing her fitted blazer. A sleek leather bag hung over one shoulder, and her heeled boots clicked against the polished tiles in a rhythmic cadence. Her natural curls framed her face, softened by a hint of makeup, and her sharp eyes scanned the platform as she walked. Tara was a picture of poise, blending seamlessly into the crowd, yet carrying an unspoken authority. Two uniformed officers, however, broke away from the flow of commuters, their eyes locking onto her. Officer Riley, tall and stocky with a cocky swagger, led the way, while his younger partner, Grant, trailed behind, looking less certain. Riley's gaze was sharp, his demeanor brash, as though the badge pinned to his chest elevated him above the masses. Grant, in contrast, appeared unsure, his hand adjusting the strap of his duty belt as though seeking reassurance. "Ma'am," Riley called, stepping directly into her path. His smirk was calculated, his tone carrying an edge of manufactured politeness. "Mind stopping for a moment?" Tara halted, her brow lifting slightly, her expression neutral, yet alert. "Is there a problem, officer?" "Routine check," Riley said, his voice oozing authority. "You fit the description of someone we're looking for. Mind showing some ID?" Tara's gaze sharpened, her voice measured. "Description of what exactly?" Riley grinned wider, his smugness palpable. "We'll figure that out. Step aside." Tara Jones, her jaw tight, but her expression composed, reaches into her bag and retrieves her ID. Her movements are deliberate, controlled, as if weighing every gesture for its implications. The laminated card catches the fluorescent light of the station as she hands it to Riley. He snatches it with a practiced indifference, tilting it in his hand as his eyes skim the text. "Federal employee, huh?" Riley's tone is sharp with suspicion, his words cutting. He narrows his eyes at her. "Mind explaining what you're doing here?" Tara, unfazed, folds her arms across her chest. Her stance is firm, unyielding. "I'm on official business. Is that a crime?" Grant shifts uncomfortably, his gaze darting between Riley and Tara. "Maybe we should call this in." "Relax," Riley snaps, waving a dismissive hand at his partner. His focus never leaves Tara. "She's just nervous." He leans closer, his voice dropping to a low, mocking tone. "What's in the bag, huh? Got anything you want to tell us about before we take a look?" Tara exhales quietly through her nose, the faintest hint of irritation crossing her face. "You don't want to do that," she says evenly, her voice carrying a warning Riley completely misinterprets. "Oh, is that right?" Riley chuckles, his grin wide and smug. Without waiting for permission, he grabs Tara's bag, his fingers brushing against hers, in a moment that feels more personal than procedural. Ignoring her calm but pointed protests, he unzips it with a practiced efficiency. Inside, his hand freezes. His bravado falters. Riley's fingers hover over a badge glinting under the overhead lights. Starkly professional, unmistakable. Next to it lies a Glock, its matte black finish resting against the lining. His jaw tightens as he reads the text on the badge. CIA. Agent Tara Jones. Grant stumbles back a step, his face losing its color. Riley? His voice is shaky, laced with panic. Tara reaches forward and calmly retrieves her badge, her movements slow and deliberate, as though she has all the time in the world. She meets Riley's eyes with a steely gaze, her voice cutting through his shock like a razor. "Now," she says coldly, "would you like to explain why you just harassed a federal agent?" Riley's confident facade cracks as his face flushes a deep red. He stumbles over his words, his usual bravado replaced by visible nervousness. We thought you might be a threat," he mutters, avoiding Tara's piercing gaze. Tara doesn't flinch, her posture rigid and commanding. Her voice, low and precise, cuts through the air like a blade. "A threat?" she echoes, her eyes narrowing. "You thought a woman in a skirt and heels, on her way to catch a train, was a threat? Or is it that you thought you could get away with some fun at my expense?" The crowd around them starts to shift, commuters slowing their pace, their interest piqued by the sharp exchange. Grant, visibly uncomfortable, takes a half step forward, attempting to salvage the situation. "Ma'am, it was, just a misunderstanding," he says, his voice almost apologetic. Tara swivels her head toward him, her tone icy and unyielding. "No," she says firmly. "It was an abuse of power, and I'm reporting both of you." Before either officer can react, Tara pulls her phone from her bag, her fingers steady and deliberate as she unlocks the screen and hits record. The glow of her camera adds weight to the moment, and murmurs ripple through the growing crowd. She holds the phone steady, her voice loud and clear. "State your names and badge numbers," she demands. Riley hesitates, his eyes darting nervously to the crowd, which has now become an undeniable presence. Grant, sensing the gravity of the situation, steps in quickly. "Officer Grant, badge number 47862, he says, his tone subdued. Tara shifts her phone to Riley, waiting. He fidgets for a moment before mumbling his name and badge number, the confidence drained from his voice. Tara's expression hardens, her gaze unrelenting. "You like touching women's skirts during your routine checks, Officer Riley?" she asks, her words laced with biting sarcasm. "Let's see how well that excuse plays out when your superiors see this." Around them, other phones are raised, commuters capturing the scene. Riley's jaw tightens as he realizes the tables have turned, the weight of his actions now on full display. The next morning, the video goes viral. News outlets pick up the story, highlighting systemic abuse and racial profiling within law enforcement. The NYPD issues a public statement, announcing an investigation into Riley and Grant's conduct. Tara, however, isn't done. Using her CIA connections, she arranges a meeting with the precinct captain. In the meeting, she lays out not just her experience, but other instances of misconduct she's uncovered through her agency's resources. "This isn't just about me," Tara states firmly. "This is about accountability." Riley is swiftly suspended, and an internal investigation begins. Grant, though reprimanded, reaches out to Tara privately to apologize, expressing regret for not standing up against Riley. Tara listens, but remains firm. "This isn't just about you feeling bad," she tells him. "It's about making sure this doesn't happen again." The story concludes with Tara back at the station, this time boarding her train without interference. She receives a text from her CIA supervisor. "Well done. Mission accomplished." Tara smiles, knowing she's made an impact far beyond her initial assignment.